This is a Bluetooth speaker shaped like a dog, and it's going from China, where it was made, to some cool guy's house in— wait, never mind! It just got stolen off a train somewhere around Los Angeles. Oh well, that's how it goes in America's 21st century train heist hotspot. But why is this part of Southern California America's 21st century train heist hotspot? After all, there are plenty of trains elsewhere, not to mention people who like free stuff. Maybe it's best to think about it in terms of means, motive, and opportunity. Because, not to spoil the next 9 minutes of light edutainment you're locked into, but thanks to all these forces, SoCal gives motivated train thieves tons of opportunities to grab robot dog speakers or whatever, and makes it shockingly easy to do it. So let's start, like Normandia in 2019, with motivation. I don't need to explain why someone would want to steal a dog speaker. It's a must-have for music lovers on the go. But why steal it off a train? If you shoplift from, say, Target, you know that you're getting consumer-ready products that you could keep or resell on Amazon or wherever. Trains aren't a sure bet, since more than half of the stuff riding the US's freight rails is bulk commodities like grain, coal, or gravel. Much harder to turn a buck from than electronics, food, or clothes. In the world of train heists, you walk a fine line between scoring a shipping container's worth of stuff people ordered because they wanted it, and having to figure out what to do with a 20-foot equivalent of gravel, which is part of why SoCal's such a hotspot. A lot of the shipments coming through here are delicious, resale-friendly consumer goods. That's thanks to this, the San Pedro Bay Port Complex, home to the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, which collectively handle 70% of the West Coast shipping containers for a total of just under 20 million TEUs a year, around 20 to 30% of which will leave the complex by rail. The e-commerce boom starting when COVID hit in 2020 has brought shipping container after shipping container of miscellanea from various Asian countries who make it to the insatiable, stuff-loving Americans who get it delivered via UPS, FedEx, or Amazon through these ports. And not only are people ordering more, but San Pedro Bay is on the up as an access point for even the eastern United States, largely because some of the other big routes are kind of flopping lately. This route goes through the Suez Canal, which is great, except when the US's foreign policy is do stuff that pisses off people who can block our access to the Suez Canal, or when a boat gets caught in it sideways. You can always loop around the bottom of Africa, but that adds 10 to 15 days of time, costs, and kids tapping the captain on the shoulder and asking, are we there yet? Or you could send your ship the other way and then through the Panama Canal, but that bad boy's been kinda dry lately, which has slowed down traffic. So with all that going on, shipping your gadgets and gizmos into LA and then putting them on a train or truck headed east suddenly looks pretty safe and cost efficient. So that's your motivation. TEUs upon TEUs of resellable who's-its and what's-its coming into Southern California that could make a good thief rich, or at least make them the proud owner of a sleek, portable dog speaker. And if you're that thief, good news! The area and the rail industry's own choices provide you ample opportunities to board the train and get your bag. When a container is on a ship, it's pretty safe, what with all the water. It's also pretty safe at the port, what with all the security. But leave the port, and there's vulnerability everywhere. In terms of freight rail, the Western United States is dominated by two big companies, BNSF and Union Pacific, who have their respective main LA rail yards here and here. These intermodal yards are where the companies take containers that came in on ships and load them onto trains, but you may have noticed an issue. It'd be pretty dang hard to get a ship there. That's why, in 2002, this thing opened up, the Alameda Corridor. It's a 20-mile or 32-kilometer express rail line that links the ports to those rail yards, and the main stretch, about half the corridor's total length, runs through a 33-foot or 10-meter trench under Alameda Street, conveniently accessible by emergency access ladder. In 2023, an average of 27 trains per day came through here, carrying an average of 437 TEUs each. Train speed in the Alameda Corridor maxes out at 40 miles per hour. A bit fast to board a moving train, but slow it down with just a bit of traffic or something, and you've got yourself a golden opportunity. Or maybe you should wait for the train to get to the Union Pacific yard, which Union Pacific has argued the police should do a better job of securing, and the police have argued Union Pacific should do a better job of securing. Arguments that will keep them busy with each other while you sneak onto the tracks where, thanks to supply chain congestion, trains are just sitting there, and where, according to UP, 90 containers get compromised a day as of January 2022. As the saying goes, cargo at rest is cargo at risk, and you're that risk. In no time at all, you're going to leave those tracks looking like this, or this, or this. So you found your opportunity. These juicy, product-filled trains on their way to, in, or away from the Union Pacific yard. Do you have the means to rob them? I mean, back in my day, robbing trains required guns, dynamite, and a rootin', tootin', don't mind shooting attitude. But these days, it's usually a pretty non-violent affair, and the barrier to entry is laughably low. In fact, if you're one of our many viewers who identifies as a quote, self-taught expert of the supply chain, you've already got something pretty key in common with one of SoCal's most notorious train thieves. If you know your way around the supply chain, you can often figure out what might be in a given container. Something like an Amazon logo, or the Googleable information on a container's placard could tell you what was in there, as could the quality of lock on it. A nicer lock might imply electronics or other sought-after goods, but a nicer lock in this industry will still barely get in your way. Recognizing the theft issue, Union Pacific announced in 2022 that they were upping their lock standards on all freight car doors, requiring cables or bolts at least 1/8 of an inch thick, which is to say cables or bolts that could still be easily broken by regular bolt cutters, and again, these are their upgraded locks. The normal ones are worse, roughly the size of a corkscrew and about as easy to break. So why the tween diary level security? Surely better locks exist, right? Well, yeah, but rail companies, blessed with few competitors, are really into making money by cutting costs to pad their margins. And they already pay for insurance, so why bother paying to improve locks on every single one of their containers? By the way, if you're wondering whether their insurance companies like this reasoning, they do not. But they also won't pay for better locks. And so, the major railroads' penchant for cost cutting puts their cargo at risk of bolt cutting. But that's not all. They also save money by running exorbitantly long trains. We're talking 3 miles, i.e. almost as long as Kilimanjaro is tall. They also save money by putting very few workers on these very long trains and treating them very badly, which is besides the point, but also uncool, earning America's major freight rail lines the official and dreaded HAI stamp of uncool. You see the problem here, right? Imagine you're playing Capture the Flag. Would you rather guard your flag with a 20-person long defense on a soccer field or a 2-person defense on a 3-mile long train? Here's how that staffing works out in a heist scenario. If a robber triggers an emergency brake on a train by cutting a hose or decoupling some cars, the engineer will stay up front while the conductor walks the full length of the train to find the source of the issue. Average human walking speed is 3 miles per hour, so if our robber's just halfway down the train, they've got like 30 minutes to get their dog speaker and get out. The robber might not even need to stop the train. Short staffing, traffic, or other problems the railroads created for themselves result in the trains stopping themselves for hours or days on end. No intervention required. You can also just rob them while they're moving. After all, a 3-mile-long train carrying hundreds of containers is pretty heavy and not necessarily that fast. You could empty out a container or two on the move without anyone even noticing. Not that you should, obviously. Crime bad. So roll all that stuff together. The striking ease of busting into containers on long in length, short on staff trains with baby locks, the convenient access to these trains provided to you by LA's railroads, yards, and the Alameda Corridor, and the high concentration of ready-to-resell goods moving through LA these days, and you get a lot of train theft. And sure, it's not ideal, but honestly, I'm not gonna worry about this until dynamite gets back in the equation. So if you made it to the end of this video, I'm gonna make 2 assumptions about you. 1, you are a giant dork, and 2, you like, or can at least tolerate, my voice explaining random stuff to you. And if either of those things are the case, well then you should come join us on Nebula. Nebula is a streaming service I started with some of my creator friends a few years back, and it's now the proud home to hours upon hours of exciting, original, ambitious projects. Stuff like Lindsay Ellis's new video about John Lennon and Yoko Ono, or Real Science's scientific competition series Archaeology Quest, or early releases of the new season of my own Jetlag the Game, or a bevy of other stuff coming up this year that I pinky promised I wouldn't tell you about yet. Nebula isn't just the place to watch all that stuff, it's also the place, and the people, who gave it the funding and support to happen at all. While YouTube, who I love dearly, keeps creators beholden to algorithm-friendly ideas, runtimes, and writing in exchange for a fraction of a cent per view, Nebula lets us fund our boldest, best projects. So if you want to watch all those projects, or you just want to support myself and tons of your other favorite creators more directly, subscribe to Nebula. If you sign up using my link at nebula.tv/HAI or use the link below, you can get 40% off a Nebula annual plan, meaning you pay just over $250 a month, and I'll be eternally grateful.